Picture one of the most brutal kings in ancient history, a man who seized neighboring lands by absolute force. Then, suddenly, he walks away. He didn't drop his weapons because his armies were exhausted. He didn't surrender because he was outmatched by a superior enemy. He abandoned war at the exact moment he achieved overwhelming military victory. This is the story of Ashoka the Great. To understand history's most ambitious conqueror, we must figure out why he willingly surrendered the exact tool that gave him ultimate control. Ashoka was born into the Mauryan Empire, a hyper-competitive political machine where ambition and conflict dictated daily life. He was far down the line of succession. To survive, he eliminated his rivals, crushing opposition, including his own brothers, until he secured the throne. Once in power, his goal was absolute domination. The strategy was continuous expansion and the aggressive removal of any threat. Campaign after campaign, his armies marched across the continent. Neighboring territories fell under his command, swelling the borders of his empire to a massive scale. His early reign relied completely on his mastery of violence. It was the unquestionable political tool of the ancient world, and Ashoka used it flawlessly. Eventually, a single kingdom stood in his path, Kalinga, a heavily fortified land with a population unwilling to surrender. Ashoka's response was utter devastation. His invasion aimed to physically break the kingdom's will through terrifying, overwhelming force. Victory cost thousands of lives. Entire cities burned to the ground, and families were completely dismantled. When the campaign concluded, Ashoka walked through the smoldering battlefield. He stood surrounded by bodies, wounded soldiers, and the cries of surviving families. Standing among the wreckage, the victory felt hollow. He had secured the land, but the cost was a sea of blood that no amount of political power could justify. From that day forward, he rejected the violence that built his empire. He adopted the teachings of Buddhism and turned toward a path of compassion, searching for meaning as a human being rather than a conqueror. He repurposed the vast machinery of his military state. He ordered the construction of hospitals, laid down expansive road networks, and built rest houses. Instead of armies, he exported ideas, sending messages of peace and unity far beyond his own borders. Ashoka proved that a ruler's strength could be measured by their ability to heal a nation, rather than their capacity to destroy one. For a time, this approach worked perfectly. The empire enjoyed stability and peace. But his shift toward nonviolence contained a hidden structural risk. Without the threat of a massive, aggressive military, the central government slowly lost its physical grip on regional territories. Control faded. Shortly after Ashoka's death, the enormous Mauryan Empire could no longer hold together. It fractured rapidly, collapsing into a series of smaller, disconnected fragments. Ashoka chose peace to save his people, yet that same peace left his borders defenseless. He traded the long-term security of his empire for the immediate morality of his soul. The reality is that physical borders and military dominance always have an expiration date. Eventually, every ruthless empire falls. What Ashoka demonstrated was a far rarer historical truth. True strength lies in conquering yourself, rather than conquering your neighbors. His political kingdom disappeared into the history books, but his ideological influence, his deepest values, his teachings of peace, survived for millennia. Power maintained strictly through fear is temporary. The profound change Ashoka cultivated outlived his walls, proving that ideas hold far more permanence than swords.